Welcome to Timberline Bass Podcast, your place for Wisconsin bass fishing and everything outdoors.
Hey folks, welcome to the very first episode of the Timberline Bass Podcast. I am the host, Dalton Shear, coming to you from Colby, Wisconsin. This first episode here, I just kind of want to do an introduction, kind of go over what I'm looking to accomplish in doing this, kind of what this is all going to be about, and a little history on myself and plans I have for the show. So clearly my name's Dalton Shear. Been bass fishing since I was in a crib. I mean, my old man would literally throw a pack and play in the back of his old Cajun and drag me out with him. The only only pictures I have from when I'm really little are in an old purple Cajun with a purple life jacket holding up fish. And from there, I guess I started tournament bass fishing when I was 8 years old. Fished all the way up and through high school. I fished the Marshfield Bass Club. Did some TBF stuff back in the day. Fished the state tournament as an on-boater when I was in high school. And then once I graduated, there was, I guess, time to make money. So I kind of didn't get out near as much for a couple years. I went on the road welding. I was a pipe fitter and welder when I first graduated high school. So I went on the road welding stainless. That the company I had worked for kind of went under. I ended up coming back home, and rather than getting back into bass fishing, I decided it was time to start a family. So I put that on the back burner for almost 10 years. Have a beautiful wife, 2 beautiful kids. And now that they're getting a little bit bigger and don't need me as much, a few years ago, I decided it was time to get back into it. And I would go here and there with my dad when the kids were younger. It just wasn't a constant thing. I kind of gave up tournament fishing. Money was needed other places, and it just wasn't a priority. But all the way through that, I always just had a scratch. I couldn't itch no matter what I did. I was one of them guys. I picked up every random freaking hobby you can think of, from building ARs, playing video games. I'm that generation. Even taught myself to make moonshine, so I've done a little bit of everything, kind of been a jack of all trades and a master of none my whole life. And like I said, once the kids got a little bit bigger and we were sitting a little bit better financially, it was time to get a boat. Started out with a little Tracker Pro 170. Told my wife I had no interest in getting back into tournament fishing. That lasted all of until the boat got here. And yeah, jumped right into fishing tournaments again. Got back into the Marshfield Bass Club. Didn't do anything too crazy for the first year or two. And now I'm the sitting president of the Marshfield Bass Club. We're always looking for more members. Any local guys want to jump in, always looking. Going forward, I mean, I just bought a new boat this year, sold my Tracker last fall and upgraded to an Express. Looking to get into some bigger stuff. And I guess I kind of come from a fishing pedigree. I'd say I'm a 3rd generation bass fisherman, but as far back as it goes that I know is my great grandpa. They were multi-species anglers. They'd, go up in the Hayward area and rent cabins for weeks at a time and run around chasing pike and crappies and whatever they could get to tug on their line. And then, my grandpa kind of carried on the tradition with my dad. He fished Lucky 13 and stuff like that when he was a kid, won a bunch of them. And But when he got a little bit older, he caught the bass fishing bug and got into tournament bass fishing. Um, I bring my dad up because he's going to be a pretty big part of this. We're working on getting him set up so he can jump in and do some podcasting and you know stuff like that. Um, he took it as far as the Ever Starts, fished that for a few years. Life happened, and he ended up giving that up, but still stayed fishing local stuff. And got me and my brothers into it. I mean, when I was a kid, we'd be fishing local derbies. We'd be four deep in the boat and flinging crankbaits and watching eyeballs and ears. Um, but yeah, so I mean, that's I guess kind of my backstory. Now I'm apparently, hitting my midlife crisis. So decided I'm starting a podcast recently, made a career change, and bought a new boat. So I'm ticking all the boxes for a midlife crisis, but it's all good. Um, so I guess going forward, what I'm looking to do with this, in all honesty, I consume a lot of bass fishing media. I'm not one I won't sit around all day and watch bass live, but I pick it up when it's a good tournament. I'll go back and watch. I love Lynn Dollar. Spend a lot of time going on YouTube and watching a lot of the old stuff I grew up with. Whoever's running that account is a saint. Oh, excuse me. Um, and I watch quite a few podcasts. I mean, there is so much great bass fishing material out there nowadays. It's not the Bassmasters TV show and magazine like when I was younger and when the older generations, that was really all you had if you were interested in this. We've got the greats like BTL with Matt Pangrac. Jeffrey started that. That is absolutely phenomenal. Great information, entertaining. Um, and then we've got Bass After Dark. They're arguably the most entertaining bass fishing podcast there is. Ken Duke and BTC, they run one hell of a show. Mercer does a phenomenal job. They're all good information, all great shows. Definitely not trying to step on any toes. Where I want to differ from those guys, I want to focus primarily on Wisconsin, the Midwest, the northern states. Well, there's so much information out there. None of it really caters to us. I mean, a lot of it crosses over. Patterns are generally the same. Um, but anybody who lives up here and has gone down south fishing, yeah, we don't get the monsters like they do. I mean, granted, there's plenty of places around here you can catch a 7. I've heard of 9s. I mean, we've got arguably some of the best smallmouth fishing in the world. Spent a lot of time on Sturgeon Bay. I mean, it's hard to compare that to anything else. But um, at the end of the day, we're just so much different. The winter fishing that they talk about down south, we can throw that right in the garbage. That really doesn't affect us. And while we have the similar patterns, we're always behind. The when they're spawning, we're losing the ice. And I'm not a big ice fisherman. I've got nothing against it. It's just, I've can think of a lot of other ways I'd rather die than falling through the ice and freezing to death. To each their own, not my thing. Um, Apparently flying out of a boat at 70 seems way more entertaining to me, but um, all in all, it just I want to do something that caters to us. And we have so many amazing companies here in Wisconsin. Mercury, not a Mercury guy, but I mean, that is Wisconsin heritage through and through. We've got so many lure companies. St. Croix rods. I mean, we're an unrealized mecca for bass fishing. We do it different than they do down south, but we got our own way and it works for us. So a lot of this will be doing that kind of stuff. My plan is I want to do some educational videos, stay as entertaining as possible. I mean, I don't need to be on here teaching people how to tie a Palomar knot. Go on YouTube, look it up. Like that's not what I'm about. Um, but just touching on patterns, stuff like that. I plan on doing guests. Got some stuff in the work with people from the state DNR. We're willing to sit down and talk, so that'll be coming up eventually here. And the other thing too, like one thing I absolutely love with what Bass After Dark and Ken Duke does, the man is an absolute historian. I mean, you got questions on bass fishing, there is nobody better to ask. The guy knows everything. But then we lose so much. While I truly believe like our sport is something worth holding on to the history, in my eyes, it's as American as apple pie and baseball. I mean, bass fishing wouldn't be anywhere else in the world if it wasn't for the United States. Um, so that's arguably something we need to hang on to and protect and cherish. And it's kind of sad, you see these younger guys and they don't know who Ray Scott was. They don't know. Uh, I mean, there's a list of guys. Basil Bacon, just those names are meaningless to so many of the young people now, and it hurts my heart. Um, and they were even before my generation. Luckily, I grew up in a family that held those things dear. Um, but the fact that we're losing that stuff, I mean, imagine all the local history where we're losing out on. Where I grew up, I lived like dead center Wisconsin. So there is no super close water. I mean, my closest drive is like 45 minutes to something even remotely worth putting my boat on. So I got to drive no matter what I want to do. And I'm cool with that. That's just the name of the game of where I live. I wouldn't have it any other way because I can drive one direction and be on the Mississippi River. I can drive kitty corner the exact opposite way, and I can be on Sturgeon Bay. And my worst drive to anything good is 3.5 hours. I I'm not complaining. The guys in Texas and California have it so much worse than we do. Um, but I want to try to preserve some of that local history. We got local legends and people I looked up to fishing around here. I mean, I know my name is fairly meaningless, but growing up, my old man's name meant something. When he rolled up on Otter or Miller, like, he was in the money. It was what it was. But there are so many other guys too that it was the same thing. You go down by Lacrosse, there's like 5 or 6 guys. If they show up, you might as well just hand your cash over. And there's nothing wrong with that. Those are the legends. They've earned that. They've earned their reputation, but those are the things I kind of want to preserve and talk about. So I'm very lucky. I have a few of them old timers still around, relatively close by. Haven't reached out yet, but I'm hoping maybe I can get a couple of them guys here and we can get some stories down. I mean, my biggest thing is I love bass fishing. That's the first thing I think about when I wake up in the morning, and normally the last thing I think about at night. I have a problem. I'm cool with it. I don't need AA. It's whatever. But when I'm not fishing, when I can't fish, unfortunately, I have to, do some adulting and work a full time job to fund my habit. But any chance I get when I can talk fishing, like I enjoy the heck out of it. I mean, I think, and all of us anglers are that way. You see a guy wearing a Berkeley or a Yamaha hat, I mean, you instantly know that they're a good dude. Like, I've we got some shady people in our circle. We always do, but like even that, like I would trust most of those people over a random stranger. I mean, you got common ground. It's really neat how our community is. Um, but no, so I would, I'm looking forward to doing that. I also, if a guy can get a chance, I'd like to promote some of the local companies. We've got so many amazing tackle companies. Um, and we've got so many rod manufacturers here in Wisconsin. I see companies like Core Tackle popping up. Matt, Steffen, and them guys over there have one heck of a product, and it's proud to see that hitting the big circles and everything. They're a Wisconsin brand. That's amazing. We've got, if I remember correctly, Meps was originally from Wisconsin, and I know that don't mean anything down south, but like around here, everybody knows what a Meps is. Um, there's just so much of that. If a guy, I'm looking forward to reaching out and maybe working with some of these companies and telling their story. My biggest thing is I'm not doing this to make money. I don't care. I don't make any money fishing. I mean, even if you're good, you're lucky if you break even, and you can't even count on that. If you're bass fishing to make money, you should probably go find something else, because for 95% of us, it's just not a practical way to do things. But it's one of them things. I mean, bass fishing's like heroin. You get that first little jab, and you're stuck with it. The tug is the drug, as corny as that is, but there's truth to it. I mean, I've spent my whole life chasing that next hook set. So anything I can do to share my passion with that, I thought this was kind of a neat opportunity. I'd jump in. The plan is to eventually be a weekly podcast. I'm going to try to get a bunch put together here. Hopefully, you guys will see it soon. I want to launch with like 5 or 6 episodes, touching on a bunch of different stuff. I've got a couple interviews in the works too with a few tackle companies and stuff. I've got one on the line for a really amazing local young man working on his dream to make it to the Elite Series. I'm really excited for that one. Um, just cool stuff like that. And I want to do some educational stuff too, how patterns and stuff work around here. I refuse to burn down any lakes, burn down any spots. I'm not about that. You want to know how I'm doing something, I'm more than happy reach out. Like I said, I love to talk fishing. I'll get my email out here eventually, comments, stuff like that. I'm all for that. But I will not tell anybody where I'm doing it. Like, it's just find it yourself, man. Like, it's all good. That's part of the game. Um, and yeah, the other thing I really want to do, local guides and stuff like that too. Anything I can do to help the local guys out. I mean, bass fishing is my passion, but I enjoy going out crappie fishing. Nothing wrong with slapping a few crappies once in a while. Walleyes are fun to catch. I've never pulled in a walleye and been like, oh darn, that was a waste of 30 seconds of my life. Like, I don't care what I'm catching, it's fun. So I think it'd be cool to promote some local guides and stuff. Um, maybe we'll do some stuff. I've got a pretty packed tournament season, so I travel quite a bit doing that. So maybe we'll do some on the road videos and stuff like that. Eventually, we'll get into doing some live podcasts. Um, and the other thing too, I'm definitely looking for opinions. I mean, I've been a fabricator most of my life. Like, I'm not a media dude. This is all a learning curve for me. Luckily, I'm slightly tech savvy. But if there's any companies, any people that want to reach out and just want their stories to be heard, whatever, like you just want to come on and talk fish, and I'm cool with that. Um, I want to use this platform to promote as much as I can in Wisconsin. Maybe work with some guides and, excuse me, do some videos on their local business. Whether it's muskie guides, crappie guides, bass guides, whatever, I don't care. Like I said, I just like to talk fishing. Um, So yeah, I mean, going forward, that's kind of the plan. Feel free and reach out, comment, shoot me an email. My email is the Timberline Bass Podcast at gmail.com. Thank you guys very much for giving this a chance. Hopefully you stick with. Please tell your friends, like, share, subscribe, all that normal stuff. No idea what it does or how it works, but everybody says it, so it must be useful. Thanks, guys. Thank you for watching the Timberline Bass Podcast. Please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, comment, all that normal stuff. Thank you very much for your support.